is there a system to manifesting, or is it visualize it and it will come? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about today on Mindful Manifesting, and you're listening to Ariana Rollins. So in episode 149, I went deeply into what manifesting is, having studied the subject, oh my gosh, probably since I was in my 20s, long time, and using it in my life and with my clients. So I think you're going to love this episode, but before we get into it, if you would like to get a little quick guided meditation and a workbook to kickstart your manifesting, go to mindfulachiever.com. It's a new way of creating what you want with system and structure. I think you'll love it. All right. So I mentioned in the last episode, 149, that I would go a little bit deeper into a system, creating a system, following a system, using a system that works for you to accomplish your goals, your intentions, which is really how I see manifesting. It's just using a system that is a little bit more evolved than SMART goals. Nothing wrong with SMART goals. We want to be specific. We want it measurable. We want to have it achievable. We want it to be realistic and on a timeline. Nothing wrong with that. But what most of us do is when we write that down, we go into trying to make it happen by figuring out all the steps that we need to take to get us there. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with that because sometimes we do have to do step A before step C. And if we dive into step C before we've done the other ones, that we waste time, waste money, and we don't get where we want to be in the time frame we want to. So let's talk a little bit about a system that predates The Secret, predates What the Bleep, all of that. And it comes from the 1980s, and it was started by a man named Stuart Lichtman, and he first started, let's say, teaching this in Sweden. And he came, this is actually, sorry for my rambles, but I think this is a really meaningful story about how this system came to be. I think you'll enjoy it. So bear with me, and then I'll get into what it is, what the system is. Okay. So back in the 80s, I think he was living in Sweden at the time. He had, I believe it was a car accident, and he was actually out of his body 8 minutes, clinically what they would call dead. While he was out of his body, he, like many people say, they experienced this wonderful unconditional love, going back home, and there was just a peace and a well-being and just it's bliss. So his description of what he experienced, he labeled it, I met God. Okay. When he came back into his body, now just a little backstory of who this man was, a very driven businessman. He was excellent at what he did. He had a consulting business. He actually consulted for Margaret Thatcher because he had this brilliant idea, reached out to her, and she says, yeah, tell me about it. So this guy was a mover and a shaker, okay? Extremely successful businessman, making very good money, and then he has this near-death experience. So what to do? Well, when he came back into his body, like many people who have a shocking awakening experience, he's like, I can't be like that anymore. I have to find a way to be with God. So we learned how to meditate. He was meditating a couple, hours a day. And in one of those meditations, he started to get this, his heart opening, this overwhelming feeling of the pain that humanity is experiencing is because of lack of money. They're experiencing just this impoverished state of consciousness, scarcity. And he said, that's how I want to help. That's how I can help. Brilliant, right? Especially for this time. We're talking 1980s he developed this. And now we're 2025. And, the economy is in a weird state, okay? Has been since the lockdown. So many people are looking at a way to make money, make a living without selling their soul out. So he came out of meditation with these glimmers of this is how I can help. Now, this term manifesting wasn't back then. This was how to accomplish your goals, how to get things done, right? Masculine, driven. And he documented. He just would go into meditation, see something, he'd come out, he'd write it down. And it became the context of a book that he wrote. Now, this is where it gets funny, right? Oh my goodness, is this the 1980s title? How to Get Lots of Money for Anything Fast. That was the title of the book. Deep book, over 300 pages, if not more. It might be even 400 pages. Now, most people in today's day and age, tell me a quick trick. How can I manifest my new clients? How can I manifest increase in revenue? My business has been struggling a bit, and I want to double or triple my revenue, okay? So they find this book, How to Get Lots of Money for Anything Fast. Maybe they're turned off by the title, like I was. Maybe they're not. And they dive in and they read it and they, whoop, this is complicated. Whoop, oh my gosh, this can't be. I don't have to do all this, do I? But then they say, I really want it. I want to triple my income. Or I want to sell my house. Or I want to, shed weight. They're committed. They have a 10 in desirability for what they want. So then they say, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to learn how to do this. So they go through the exercises. So what is this? What is this book? What is this system? Okay. First, I want to give you a refined version, which you can get on Amazon. Okay. How to Make Your Life a 10. Still not a brilliant title, is it? Yep. But it's a refined version. It's much shorter, and it goes into wonderful strategies on how to build an inner success team and so much more. So I suggest grab it, How to Make Your Life a 10. Now let's go into what is this? What is the system that he created? So before I dive into that, backtrack. So it's 2002. I'm in the process of getting a divorce and being a single mom, and I needed to make money fast. So I got the book from my friend, read it, and I was so inspired, so gobsmacked. What a funny term, gobsmacked. Oh my gosh, this works. I have a way of recognizing what's real and what's truthful. Not in every case. Yes, I can have the wool pulled over my eyes. But a lot of times with these life-changing things that I found along the way, they're true. It's oh my gosh, this works. This can help me create a business, a way of making a living, so I don't have to go out to work full time as project management and travel and leave my son to be raised by someone else. I was excited, let me tell you. So I bugged the author of the book. I said, teach me how to teach others. And he said, I don't do that. He's a very gruff kind of man. I bugged him for 2 years, my friends. Finally, he relented. So I went through a training, and it was rigorous. So the name of the term that he came to, which there is actually a reason why, Cybernetic Transposition. So this man, Stuart Lichtman, was a student at MIT, and he saw Norman Werner, I know, probably saying the name wrong, walking the halls of MIT. And this is a man who brought in that term, cybernetic. Now, it's not about AI, no. It's about looking at our body as a machine, looking at the body as how do we get the body to follow through on what we want to do, whether it's healing, whether it's taking the right actions and speaking to the right people and growing our income. Our body's the doer. So Stuart Lichtman was at MIT. He had met Norman Werner, and he was caught by this. I think that's why the term cybernetic transposition. Well, why transposition? Well, say you have an experience and you loved it. You brought on a new client. They were your perfect client. They're paying you upfront for, a 6-month package. And you're like, oh, more of those, please, right? Well, that's what transposition is. You can take any experience that you've had and recreate it. You transpose it into maybe a different number of clients, maybe a different, amount that you're charging. So that's the secret of transposition. All right. So let's talk a little bit about what this is. Well, for over 40 years, I've been passionate about human empowerment. It's driven me. Since I was 13 years old, I've been studying the power of the mind. And when I moved to England, I started studying metaphysics, spiritual teachings, and yet I didn't have a way to share with others what I knew, like inherently knew that our mind was powerful, our emotions have an influence, and we can literally use our thoughts to create our reality. I didn't have a way to share it with others until 2003, when I discovered the subject of cybernetic transposition. So cybernetic comes from the Greek definition steersman, governor, pilot, or rudder. It's a way to govern our mind and body. And what I studied had nothing to do with artificial intelligence at all, but what caught me, it is a way to manage ourselves better so that when we have a thought or a feeling, our body follows through. Instead of, repeatedly hitting the snooze button when we said we were going to go to the gym in the morning. Instead, we hop out of bed, put our gym clothes on, and we're in the car before we even realized, whoa, I'm going to the gym, right? So psycho-cybernetics is another term. You may have read a fantastic book by Maxwell Maltz. Oh, so good. That man had such a heart. He did not have the system, though, that cybernetic transposition brings in. Okay, so psycho-cybernetics and cybernetic transposition are about setting a goal, taking action to achieve it. Also, using a feedback loop, a mechanism to know whether you're on track to achieve it. So just like a pilot enters the coordinates and hands over the flying to the autopilot in the plane, we can also hand over the driving to our goal, to our unconscious mind. The body as the storehouse of the unconscious mind, which is all about why I wrote the book Mindful Achiever. It goes into vast detail in that. And the subtitle is How to Lead Your Unconscious Mind to Personal Growth and Success. Okay. So when I found Cybernetic Transposition 2003, I mentioned I knew I had found a practical answer to helping people accomplish their goals and create lasting change, but also to have that feeling of peacefulness and a life of meaning. So after 2 intense years and 800 hours of the most intense training, I became a certified facilitator. So most people come to me and this work for freedom, me included. But freedom is not limited to money in the bank. And the older I get, the more I recognize freedom is the ability to be present, joyful for no reason, and at peace with who we are and what's going on in the world, in our life. It's also peace to help us accomplish our burning desires, but not at a cost to our relationship or well-being, because that's, to me, what motivates me most about this higher level of manifesting is the world we can create for ourselves and others. And I dream of transforming how humanity relates to one another. Truly, my deep-rooted enthusiasm for teaching manifesting is to bring it to the masses and show that it isn't magic beans. It's not only for people following a specific New Age path, because when people set intentions through manifesting, there's a level of consciousness There's a presence that can spread to the outside world. And world peace, I believe, begins with each individual having that inner peacefulness and that congruence between heart and mind. So what's a fast way to get to peace? Well, loving our life, accomplishing our goals, maybe making the money, meditating. So cybernetic transposition is a 3-step process. First, and I will paraphrase it, know what you want, get very clear, check, is it right for you? Is the timing right? Set a deeply desirable objective, hand it over to your unconscious mind, and the third step is clear any resistance that comes up along the way, clear any blocks, and make sure that you're aligned and you're congruent with what you say you want. Now, congruence, so say you want, let's go back to the example, you want to get in shape. Okay. Maybe you want to shed some weight, you want to get in the greatest fitness you've been in your whole life, you join a gym, you're committed, you hire a personal trainer, and you're going 3 times a week. Okay. Set the alarm. You're a little bit tired from the day before. You gave a lot of energy, you worked hard, you didn't go to sleep till 11, and you hit the snooze button. But when you set an objective, you've got all parts of your mind, all parts of your brain, your body on board with helping you achieve it. So you don't have to rely on willpower alone, my friends. You've got your body helping you follow through. You've got your unconscious mind encouraging you to get out of bed. It's like instead of using that white knuckle goal setting, willpower alone, you're coming from that piece of congruence and harmony and integration and alignment. So you set the objective, you set that goal, and you just notice yourself doing the right actions, getting up early. And then you notice when you get on the scale, wow, I've shed 2 pounds. This is working. Great. Feedback loop, right? So using CT, the 3-step system, can help you achieve things that maybe you've been wishing and dreaming for a long time. Maybe you've tried manifesting techniques. Maybe they've left you discouraged. Maybe you feel that they're airy-fairy and they're just hooey, which, you know me. If you listen to the other episode, I don't like the term, but it catches people's attention, their ears open. And if I can then show them how to get what they want, I show them a system, then it's going to elevate that term to this is how you manifest. Because manifesting without a system is literally sitting on the sofa, closing your eyes and going, oh, and hoping for things to change without actually doing the doing. But doing the doing that's going to get you where you want is what I'm all about. Not wasted effort. Actually doing the doing that's going to be successful and help you accomplish your objectives in your time frame. All right. I enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you did. Remember, grab your Kickstart Your Manifesting Journey at mindfulachiever.com. And as we wrap up, as you confirm yourself, you chart your own path to success. So much love. Thank you so much for listening. Bye for now.